What if I told you that ejaculation control wasn't about luck or willpower, but it's actually a really simple skill that every man can master once you know what to do? The problem is there's a lot of bad advice on the internet, and you're probably making the common mistake I was making 6 years ago that actually made my PE even worse. I struggled with premature ejaculation and performance anxiety for over 15 years. And once I found out what it was, it changed my life forever. And over the last 6 years, I've helped over 350 men master ejaculation control and completely transform their sex lives. Understanding this one key thing meant that I went from not lasting more than 2 minutes to being able to last as long as I wanted. So in this video, I'll show you how making this mistake kept me from feeling confident in bed. I'm going to give you a simple 4-step process that will actually help you last longer in bed, and even show you the ancient technique that instantly changed my sex life and enabled me to completely master ejaculation control. And to help you understand why these techniques are so powerful, you first need to know how this mistake is holding you back. Back in 2017, I was following the internet's advice of clenching my PC muscle as hard as I could multiple times a day for repetitions. But the thing is, this resulted in an overly tight pelvic floor, and it ended up making my PE even worse, which made me feel like I'd never get it solved. So I started to avoid sex and intimacy altogether. Then I stumbled across a 2,000-year-old technique that helped me understand this mistake that I was making and how to correct it. And this is where everything shifted for me. I went from not lasting more than 2 minutes to being able to last as long as I wanted and give my partners multiple orgasms during sex. But first, stop doing kegels. And if you want to reverse the damage and learn the other 95% of ejaculation control, you need to know the first step in the process right here. The truth is, kegels only contribute to about 5% of curing premature ejaculation. And that's because they are purely focusing on the physical aspects of the body. And in order to truly master ejaculation control, you need to also focus on a much more important aspect. I was constantly stressed in my daily life and stuck in my head overthinking about work and life and premature ejaculation and unconsciously heavy chest breathing all the time. The mental stress and anxiety from my daily life was actually priming me to lose control and prematurely ejaculate in my sex life. So what is the first step to master ejaculation control? Nervous system regulation. You need to know how to connect to your breath during times of stress so your nervous system can drop and you can get out of your head and back into your body. In through the nose, let the belly fill with air, and then out through the mouth with a slight sigh and let the belly fall. Doing this will have a huge impact on reducing stress and regulating your nervous system in your daily life. But how do you actually integrate it into your sex life? And this brings us to step 2. Did you grow up quickly masturbating to porn, hoping that no one walks in and catches you? I know I did. Not only was I conditioning myself to ejaculate quickly, but I was also reinforcing this idea that the purpose of sex and pleasure was to ejaculate. And when this is a daily habit, it can feel like a primal instinct that as soon as you feel pleasure, you want to ejaculate and you lose control. But I learned we are capable of experiencing so much more pleasure than just ejaculation. And if you want to have full control in bed, you need to know how to override this primal instinct that we have created. So what is the second step to master ejaculation control? You have to create new pleasure pathways and connect to your pleasure in a completely different way. When you start to explore your pleasure outside of your genitals and instead use your entire body using touch and a connected breath, you start to repattern your system and you can feel pleasure in ways you have never felt before. It only took me 2 weeks to repattern this, and I was able to reduce my anxiety and stress to near zero during sex. But that wouldn't have been possible without the 2,000-year-old technique that I'm going to show you, or this next step right here. I used to get to a point during sex where I would completely lose control, and there was nothing I could do to stop myself from ejaculating. I thought I was just born with an overly sensitive penis and that I would have PE for life. And then I realized that I could change this awareness and connection to my body by knowing it so well that I know exactly what is too far, or when to slow down, or when to change my breath pattern to completely control my ejaculations. And I did this by implementing an edging practice without porn and taking the goal of ejaculation completely off the table. Instead of a quick 5-minute masturbation session, I started practicing edging for 15 to 20 minutes without ejaculating. It's like training for a marathon. You don't prepare by doing the 50-yard dash. You build up to longer and longer runs to increase your stamina. And that's the exact same thing we're doing with edging. And in order to be able to do this with a partner, you need to be able to do it with yourself first. So what is the third step to master ejaculation control? Knowing your arousal. You have to know your arousal to be able to master ejaculation control. And it takes practice. You don't learn your arousal after one edging session. You have to go over the edge a bunch of times to realize what is too far, and learn how to quiet your mind and get back into your body to stay in control. Now, the good news is practice makes perfect, and anyone can master their sexual energy if they're willing to learn and put in the work. But if you want it to translate during sex with a partner, then you need to know the 2,000-year-old ancient technique and this final step right here. When I was worried about going too quickly, I was only thinking about my partner during sex and doing whatever I could to try and give her pleasure. I was so nervous about not being good enough that I was willing to sacrifice my own pleasure for hers. And this is where so many men can get stuck and their progress can flatline or even regress. Because in order to master ejaculation control, you have to be able to share your wants and needs with your partner. And that includes what you don't want as well. So what is the fourth step to master ejaculation control? Open communication and setting boundaries. For me, if a partner tries to rush foreplay and skip right to penetration, it's too fast for me. I feel pressured and I don't feel safe and I won't be able to perform. But having open communication and sharing about what I'm experiencing and learning to say no to things that made me feel unsafe or uncomfortable was an absolute game changer for me. And here's the best part. Once you establish that safety, you can implement this 2,000-year-old ancient technique that literally changed my sex life forever and enabled me to last as long as I wanted in the bedroom. My first sex coach taught it to me, and it's a Taoist breath technique called the microcosmic orbit. And it allowed me to circulate my sexual energy away from my genitals and disperse it throughout my entire body. So instead of feeling overly sensitive in my penis and worried about ejaculation, I could send that energy up my body and experience tingling in my hands and arms and legs and a buzzing sensation and pleasure I had never experienced before in my life. It was mind-blowing. Using the microcosmic orbit enabled me to separate orgasm from ejaculation and last as long as I wanted during sex. And now I'm going to show you exactly how to do it. Inhale through the nose and feel the breath go through your pelvic floor, up to your belly and chest, and visualize the energy going up the back of your spine as you track your breath. I like to use my hands as I go up, and then exhale with sound and a loud ah, and let that energy fall back down the front of your body. If you connect to this breath consecutively for 10 plus minutes during foreplay with a partner or during your own edging practice, you will put yourself in the best position possible to experience non ejaculatory orgasms and master ejaculation control. And I know this works because I've lived it. I fumbled around struggling for years trying to learn this on my own, but once I got coaching and guidance, I was able to master it in just a few weeks. Now, if you want help applying these techniques and you're ready to master ejaculation control and overcome PE for life, click the link below in the description or head to alexgrendy.com and book a call directly with me. Or check out this next video right here on how you can cure your premature ejaculation after 30 and start having the best sex of your life.